We're here at the Pima Air Museum in Tucson, Arizona. We're going to check some of the airplanes that have been decommissioned. So guys, let's see how this looks like.
Tour guide. Today you'll see aviation history at its best with a variety of airplanes ranging from commercial, civilian, military, search and rescue aircraft. This is a non-stop tour lasting 4.5 hours. You're on your own. We're going to start the tour right here with the United States Air Force supersonic jet fighters. The introduction of jet engines at the end of World War II brought the quest for ever faster speeds to the forefront of fighter airplane development in the 50s and 60s. The military de-emphasized maneuverability of the dogfight era and emphasized long-range missiles for air-to-air combat. An excellent example of this, if I can talk, on your right is the F-102 Delta Dagger. It has a red markings. This aircraft was designed as a high-speed interceptor. The plane's triangular or delta-shaped wings are very efficient at high speeds, but make it significantly less maneuverable than planes with other wing types. The mission was to fly out at supersonic speeds to intercept enemy bombers before they could reach the coast of the United States. Over my left shoulder here, on the left side of the tram, is another United States Air Force supersonic jet fighter from the 60s, the Phantom F-4. It is the first green and brown camouflage aircraft on the left side. Originally designed as a high-speed interceptor for the United States Navy, the Phantom's design proved to be more adaptable than the F-102 that we just looked at. For this reason, the Air Force adopted the Phantom, using it in both air-to-air combat and bombing ground targets. The Phantom was originally designed without a gun and relied solely on missiles for combat against other aircraft. However, combat in Vietnam and the Middle East quickly showed that the era of the dogfight had not ended after all. On the side, you will see one of the United States' first jet fighters to go into production, the P-80 Shooting Star. All the major powers on both sides of World War II worked to develop jet-powered combat aircraft during the war. Germany was the first to fly a jet-powered aircraft in 1939. By 1944, Germany, Great Britain, and the United States had all designed the first combat jets. While the British and Germans both put jets into combat during World War II, the United States jets, like the P-80, did not see combat until the 1950s during the Korean War, where they were used for air support of ground troops. The next group of aircraft on display is made up of light civil aircraft from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Most of these will be on the right side of the tram, but I want to point out these two lonesome fellows on the left. They are over here in the corner, and they are part of it. As we turn the corner, you'll see aircrafts that were designed and built to provide personal transportation for individuals. They are on your right. Pilots would build themselves in the backyard. The military also used these as small transport aircraft for pilots who had been assigned to non-flying duties to help keep up their flight skills. On your left, we'll talk about it in a moment, so just remember this airplane with the engine underneath right over here. I'll be talking about that in a moment. Keeping up on the right side with civil aircraft, we have the Snow S2A crop duster. Aircraft such as this are vital to the agricultural industry. They are used to spray fertilizers and pesticides on crops and farmlands. The flying involved in aerial application, crop dusting, is technically challenging and occasionally hazardous. Pilots who fly these aircraft are highly trained in all aspects of aerial application, from safe pesticide use and entomology to flight skills. Airliners are developed in the 40s and 50s. The first plane in this group, which I'm pointing to, is the Vickers Viscount on the left. The Vickers is the world's first propeller turbine turboprop airliner, designed and built by Vickers Armstrong of Great Britain. 445 of these were made from 1948 to 1964, and the aircraft flew for over 60 years, when the last one retired in 2008. This plane you're looking at on display at the museum was the first turboprop airliner in North America. It flew from Toronto to New York City for Trans-Canada Airlines, holding 40 to 63 passengers and 3 to 4 crew members. Next, you will see planes that have the designation of Air Force One. The blue and white aircraft on your right have been used to carry Air Force presidents. This one here I'm going to talk about, for those who were around back in those days, has a lot of memories and emotions. The first one was the Boeing 707 airliner, which the Air Force called the BC-137B. This was introduced to the presidential aircraft fleet in 1959, and the second of the 5 BCs-137s to serve in the executive branch. During most of its service life, it was used to carry large groups of VIPs, but it did carry President Kennedy on at least one occasion. In 1981, this plane was used to bring the 52 American hostages held in the embassy in Iran back to the United States after their release. On this occasion, the aircraft was used the call sign Freedom 1. The call sign again was used in 1991 when the plane was used to carry American prisoners of war back from Iraq at the end of the Gulf War. Just before its retirement, this plane served as Air Force 2, carrying Vice President Al Gore. Next, Air Force One is a Douglas DC-118 Liftmaster. This plane is based on the Douglas DC-6 airliner. It is the last propeller-driven aircraft to be assigned as a primary aircraft of the President of the United States. It served both Presidents Kennedy and Johnson. While both men preferred to fly in the larger, faster, jet-powered BC-137s, this aircraft was kept because many airports had big jets. So this smaller aircraft was important to the Air Force One. Coming up, on your right, you'll see the museum's collection of Air Force VIP and aircraft. These aircraft are used to provide transportation to high-ranking military officers and government officials. They are generally commercial airliners that have been fitted with modified executive seating. The one right here you're looking at is a triple-tailed Lockheed BC-121 Constellation. This one was used by General Dwight Eisenhower when he was commander of Allied forces in Europe after World War II. Is a Cessna 172 Skyhawk. This aircraft, again on the right side of the tram, has 2774 painted on it. This is the most produced aircraft in history. Cessna delivered the first production model in 1956, And as of 2018, more than 44,000 have been built and are still in production today. If you look at the right, the plane with the yellow wings and gray body is a Sikorsky S-43 Baby Clipper, an airliner from the 30s, also used by the Navy and Marine Corps. In the 1930s, many airlines were designed as seaplanes because the airports were being used as a substitute. The Baby Clipper could hold 15 passengers and 3 crew members. This plane flew from Inter-Island Air Base in Hawaii in the 30s and 40s. So here we go. It later flew in Alaska, where it was damaged in an accident in the 1950s, and it spent 30 years underwater in the lake. And the Connie is a silver airplane on your right with TWA in red. It was one of the first long-range civilian airliners to go into service after the war, carrying between 44 and 80 passengers and 6 crew members. The aircraft is a 10th Connie, the oldest one left in the world. It flew briefly with the United Army Air Forces in 46, and then returned to Lockheed and sold to TWA, where it flew from 47 through 60. The one you're looking at is the second Dreamliner to be produced. It participated along with other prototypes in the aircraft testing and certification process, which lasted from late 2009 until 2011. The 737 is the most produced airliner in history, with over 10,000 of them built since 1967. It has been estimated that over 1,000 are flying at any given moment. The green and gray plane you're looking at right now with propellers on the nose is the Terry Gannon. And 2 down, 1 on it is a dark gray plane next to it is the Avro Shackleton. Both aircraft also use contra-rotating propellers, in which 2 propellers in line with each other turn in opposite directions. This makes the propellers more efficient and provides more power than one single propeller. This B-52, we'll talk about the black bottom. This version began flying in 1956, and it was the main version of aircraft used in the Vietnam War. They were painted with black and green camouflage at that time, since many of the regions over North Vietnam were flown at night. In 1962 to 1974, the United States dropped over 7 million tons of bombs on Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. The last B-52 left the assembly line in 1962. Today, 70 of them still remain in service and are expected to be used until 2040. The green one, the forward map you're looking at is a bright green plane on the side of this tram. It was designed as a trainer for the British Royal Air Force in 1959. This one is the 4th of 6 prototypes that were built and tested before the aircraft went into production. And that served as a primary fast jet trainer for the Royal Air Force until 1979. Move up a few feet here. Next to the net is the Alpha Jet. The Alpha Jet represents the Europeans' answer to the expanding cost of developing military aircraft during the 70s. It was developed as a joint venture by aircraft manufacturers in both France and West Germany. This is an interesting thing. If you notice, this one carries the markings of the West German Luftwaffe, where they were used as close air support fighter bombers. They were also used as trainers in the French Air Force. Most Western European military aircraft since then have been developed as a part of collaborations between 2 or more countries, spreading the development costs among the various countries and ensuring a larger number of aircraft safety.